Today we're working on a 2010 Dodge Ram half-ton or 1500 depending on where you're from and how you call it. And today we're doing a radio replacement from factory to Pioneer, and we're doing a mono amp drop and we're mounting that to the back wall of the truck. And we're not doing any subs today because the customer is putting the subs in himself at a later date, and I'll explain why once we get back there. What else are we doing? Oh, we're also hardwiring this guy's radar detector, and I'll show you that right now. All right, so pretty standard Dodge Ram radio. Everything's functioning. He just wants some new features. Let me kill that light here. So whatever, nothing fancy there. This is the radar detector that he wants hardwired so that we can get rid of this silly cable that's hanging all over everything. So we'll do a mirror tap on that, and I'll show you what's going on in the back here in a second. So this is the back seats, typical storage trays underneath. This customer uses his storage trays, which is why we're not doing the typical enclosure underneath the seat here. So I have a rule that I won't install, I won't put sub boxes on the seats, even if that's what the customer wants to do. So I'm just gonna do the amp install and leave the wiring for him to connect his sub box, and he can do whatever he wants with it after it leaves the shop. But I will not be responsible for putting a death enclosure sitting on the back seat. Becomes a flying projectile in the event of a collision, so I won't play a part in that. So I'm gonna get started with disassembly. Obviously we're gonna start at the front like we always do. I also need to clean this up a little bit, not because it's messy or anything, but I just want it to look a little bit better when we give it back to the customer. So we're gonna clean up the dash. We'll get started. This is all the stuff that we're putting in the truck today. So the Pioneer DMH 1500 NEX, we're using a pack audio interface, obviously an antenna cable. There's the dash kit on the left, Stinger amp kit. We're also going to be flush mounting a USB on the dash for the customer to have easy access to his USB, Apple CarPlay, etc., etc. And then here's the hardwire kit for the radar detector. So now that we have the radio out and the bezel off and everything like that, of course, as we're getting used to in this industry, we found some surprises. So this customer has had I would assume a Bluetooth module added in from the dealership. That's my assumption anyways. So it uses like a T-harness setup, so we're gonna remove that and get this back to factory again. We've got, looks like we've got some sort of a mic going on down here. Yeah, so we'll remove all of this and put it back to factory again before we get started. While I'm in here, I'll show you. So when you're putting in a double din head unit in these trucks, you have to remove this metal bracket. It just encases everything. So we're gonna remove that before we can get started on the build-up. All right, so this is the cavity all finished with those parts that I just showed you in that picture previously, with all the parts removed. Gives us plenty of room to install our new double din. We're gonna clean up this harness a little bit so it goes back to looking factory the way it was before. Whoever was in here before did whatever they did. So I'll get started on that, and then we'll start reassembling. We've got our harness all cleaned up, taped up, rewrapped with factory tape again. Looks good, looks like it did when it was factory. Here's our antenna. We've also got, here's our satellite radio antenna. This customer is not adding an aftermarket satellite radio, so this will just get taped into this harness there, so it's safe and easy to access if it's ever needed in the future. So here we have our finished product. Pioneer double din installed. We've got our USB down here, and you're probably looking at that saying, why didn't I center that? And the reason for it is the sub dash behind here didn't allow for the USB to be directly centered, so we had to offset that just a little bit. Here we've got our radar detector hardwired, and no goofy little cables hanging down across the dash anymore, which looks great. And turns off with the key and turns on with the key as you would expect it to. And I'll show you the amp underneath the back seat.
GPS connected.
So like I said at the beginning of the video, we weren't actually installing the subs for this customer. We were just doing the amp and making sure that it was powered up and everything. So we've left his speaker wire right here so he can connect it at his leisure and do whatever he wants to do with his sub box. As far as the amp goes, I don't know if I'll be able to get underneath there far enough. So you can just barely see the amp there, but it's mounted on the back wall, secured tight, clean, out of the way, never to be seen again. That's pretty standard. That's what we do on these trucks, is put everything, or as much as we can, on the back wall.